I'll call the meeting to order and welcome
You're gonna hit harder. You're gonna hit her harder.
You think? I call the meeting of 4 to order. Welcome everyone to the Eugene Budget Committee. And first, my name is Jill Featherstone-Ha, and I am the interim vice chair as of a week ago, and sitting in tonight for Scott Norwicki, who couldn't be with us tonight. He is our chair. And first, I'd like to introduce our two new board members, Eliza Kaczynski and Emily Fiocco. Welcome to both of you. And normally we'd go around and just tell you how long we've been with the Budget Committee, so this will be a short process. And I'll start with Josh, and if maybe you could just introduce yourself and say how long you've been with the Budget Committee.
Well, and I already know both you guys.
For the web?
Yeah, for the web.
Yes.
Josh Wiskow, this is my fourth year. Yeah, from the beginning of my second and final term. Try not to smile over there.
And again, I'm Jill Featherstone-Ha. This will be my 6th year and my 2nd term on the Budget Committee. So I guess I would ask everyone, we are webcast tonight, so when you speak, please speak clearly into the microphone. And then when we're going to have the service profiles tonight, we're going to have 4 library services, youth and family recreation services, athletic services, and aquatic services, and each of them are going to give a short presentation, and then we'll have up to 20 minutes to respond to or ask questions. So if you have questions, please just raise your hand, and it should be very easy to track you and queue you up, and there'll be 20 minutes following each presentation.
Well, and actually, can I just make a very quick announcement?
Of course you may.
Sorry, just really fast. I just want to acknowledge and express my appreciation for Twyla's email earlier today with the progress on the budget visualization tool. So I know we'll have a chance to discuss that more as it rolls along, but I just, for the sort of public record, want to say I appreciate the progress on that, and we look forward to seeing more. Thanks.
So of the service profiles, the blue sheet you will find is the historical data, and it gives the past 4 years, as I'm sure you've all noticed. The white sheet is the current information, and it basically gives the measures and targets for the next 4 years. And as I mentioned, staff will give a brief overview of each service area, and there'll be about 20 minutes that we'll have a chance to ask questions or get information. And I guess I would also ask you to note that while staff has identified measures and targets, these aren't the only measures and targets. So they basically implement best practices and other considerations when coming up with the measures and targets. So everything you see before you is intended, I think, for our purposes as a summary and to help us ask questions, but understand that there's much more to it than on the short pages that are in front of you. So, I should say, normally we will vote at the end of each service profile to accept the service profile and the current measures and targets going forward. But tonight we do not have a quorum, so it is my understanding from Twyla that what we're going to do is next week we will actually vote to adopt, and presumably and hopefully we will have a quorum at that time. So with no further ado, I would invite Library Services to give us their presentation.
Thank you, Jill. So my name is Connie Bennett. I'm the Library Services Director. And thank you so much for giving us this opportunity tonight to tell you a little bit about what we're doing and why at Eugene Public Library. First of all, Eugene Public Library is one of the oldest publicly supported libraries in Oregon. It was founded in 1904, and even after more than a century, the purpose of a public library remains the same: literacy, democracy, lifelong learning in a way that's relevant to the community it's serving. But as our world and our sources of information have changed tremendously over time, we remain relevant by identifying what our community needs to be informed and to learn, and by what resources are available in the outer world. EPL's role has shifted from passive recreational reading and research institution to an active economic development agent, constantly adjusting and expanding to meet emerging community needs. EPL has a direct impact on local economic conditions, building our community's capacity for economic activity and resiliency. Public library facilities often anchor a downtown and commercial developments and are attractive neighborhood amenities. And you can certainly see that with Eugene's downtown public library. The busiest public building in Eugene, it provides a safe and welcoming place for all with an average of 3,000 visitors a day through our doors. Even though the business model of public library services is not intended to generate revenue, recent studies indicate that the return on investment average is $5 per $1 invested. And like education, there's a good payoff for our community in terms of investment in social equity and quality of life. Our downtown library has been the base of operations for almost 15 years. It first opened to the public in the final weeks of 2002. And since the year 2000, we've also offered services in 2 leased neighborhood branches, the Bethel branch in West Eugene and the Sheldon branch north of the river. The traditional service provided by public libraries is access to diverse collections of materials for all ages in a wide variety of formats. And our excellent library staff works hard to keep our collections fresh, current, and contemporary. Our fastest growing collection, and this is both in circulation and in number of volumes, items that we provide access to, is in digital materials. More than 50% of our collection is now digital. And it includes things such as ebooks, streaming video, streaming audio, and one of the great advantages of digital services is that they're available 24 hours a day, even if our physical doors are closed. In addition to collections, the library offers a wide variety of free public programs, classes, and events every year. These are designed to educate and entertain all ages and interests, and they range from a weekly Spanish language story time at the Bethel branch to lively First Friday concert at the downtown library to hands-on skill development with new technologies for job development or personal growth. Many people entering the workforce rely on libraries to get them online. Local businesses are increasingly tapping into the library's online databases to keep themselves competitive and to find synergistic new business opportunities. In fact, public libraries are logical partners for local sustainable economic development initiatives that focus on people and quality of life. Libraries are widely available, highly regarded public institutions that provide a broad range of information services and support for diverse constituencies. In this era of economic transformation, the business of public libraries is being recast. Public access to digital information and technology is a huge draw for libraries. Their open structure, combined with the power of these new digital collections, technology, and training, position them to help their communities make the transition from manufacturing and service economies to high-tech and information economies. Strategies for building a strong economic base are being realigned. Human resource strategies are coming into the fore as jobs created in the new economy require highly educated and technologically skilled workers. Strategies to keep a vibrant base of small businesses, traditionally a major source of local job creation, intact and competitive in a very mobile and global entrepreneurial environment are also an emerging concern to us. EPL is able to expand services through our Maker Hub and Media Lab, which are new services just remodeled on the 3rd floor of our building, downtown building. And we offer those services in part thanks to a robust volunteer program. In addition to specialized workshops and other training, our volunteers are open and available for drop-in lab sessions every afternoon, 7 days a week. And next we have a little video that gives you a taste and feel of what those services are.
So we're making things available like high-end software for that would work great for job development or for creating your own narratives and stories, working on creative endeavors, digitizing old memories, things that you might not have access to, as well as high-tech tools that you would want to use for creating a new idea that you have or prototyping a business endeavor, something like that. So 3D printers, a CNC mill, sewing machines, vinyl cutter, electronics.
As we look toward the future, one crucial investment is in a literate community, assisting children with pre-literacy and early literacy skills. Many families and caregivers rely on the library to provide this important preschool learning and reading. Research shows that early literacy helps kids develop the skills they need as they grow into learning to read. Community members have repeatedly shared with us how important it is for the library to help our children's literacy development. And I'd like to highlight one specific program benefiting our youngest residents, which is the Imagination Library. This is a highly successful public-private partnership between the library, the Eugene Public Library Foundation, and the Dollywood Foundation, which provides a new book each month by mail for children from birth until they turn 5 as a gift to keep. And this program is so successful because one of the biggest barriers to reading is access to books. And research shows that regularly reading to children makes a huge difference, not only for their individual futures, but for our community's future. By the time a child has started school, the library's goal segues to reading fluency. 3rd grade is a turning point where a child transitions from learning to read to reading to learn. A child reading below grade level at 3rd grade is already identified as more likely to drop out of high school. Another special thanks to the Friends of the Eugene Public Library who have supported our summer reading program for decades. And summer reading is huge in stemming what they call the summer reading slide. When kids are out of school across the summer, if they don't keep up the practice of reading, they come back in the fall far behind where they were when they left school in the spring. And so that's a huge contribution that we make for our community. Another direction for the future is to extend our service reach, taking the library services to where community members are already gathered, rather than requiring them to come to us. While we've done this virtually for years now with our digital services, this past summer the library has popped up in many community events. One of our biggest off-site programs is called Storytime to Go. It was originally started with grant funding, but we've continued it as part of our regular offerings and again with volunteer support. It reaches kids who aren't able to come to us by bringing a regular weekly storytime program to them at the daycare or preschool where they are during the daytime. You will see in our service profile that one of our future strategies is to address increasing space needs for the library, including the long-planned strategy to expand the downtown library into the 4th floor of this building. In the meanwhile, we're going ahead with realigning and reconfiguring the space that we already have to better serve align with our service priorities and the needs of our community. During an extensive community outreach project a few years ago, we identified a number of current community needs that we want to address as we plan for the future. And one of the highest priorities mentioned for Eugene Public Library was better connection with and services to teens. So right now we're engaged in a project to reconfigure and redesign the east end of our 1st floor into a dedicated service space for teenagers. And we're accomplishing that sleight of hand by reducing the square footage dedicated to some of the fading technologies that we have offered in the past, such as microforms and print reference materials. Another challenge facing the Eugene Public Library is that funding for our services is providing the funding, which obviously is of interest to the Budget Committee. In November of 2015, voters passed a library levy measure, which approved a 5-year local option levy. It brings about $2.7 million to our budget annually, at a cost of about $36 per year for a typical Eugene property tax statement. The report of the successful first year of the levy was presented at a council work session a few weeks ago, and I believe we have copies of that for people, if you'd like to pass those out. The levy provides approximately 20% of Eugene Public Library's budget through supplementing the general fund. However, it is time limited. It will expire on June 30th in 2021. And so addressing a continuation or replacement strategy for funding will be a discussion within the next few years covered by this service profile. And finally, I would like to mention our great good...
Question?
Yes, absolutely.
Can you say that again about a replacement strategy for the funding?
Well, right now, a portion of our services are funded by this levy. The levy, we've completed the first year. We're now partway into the second year. At the end of year 5, that measure expires. And so one possibility is to decide whether we want to renew that. Another possibility is to look at other funding strategies. Another possibility is to reduce the services that that levy provides.
Okay.
So there's some, but that conversation is...
Yes. No, and we can talk about it in a minute. I just wanted to spell that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to mention a third source of funding for us, we're very fortunate to have 2 nonprofit partners that support us, the Eugene Public Library Foundation and the Friends of the Eugene Public Library. Together, they directly donated to our budget over $500,000 last year. And that does not include the nearly $100,000 that the foundation pays directly to Imagination Library to support that program. So our community is fortunate to have their support, and as always, we thank them. And that's the conclusion of the presentation. Thanks for your attention, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. So anybody that has a question, if you wouldn't mind raising your hand, and then we thank you, Connie, and we can ask questions. And would anybody like to ask a question?
Well, I'll kick you.
Yes. Okay. Josh?
But please, think of things. So first of all, thank you. I'm a huge supporter of the library. We're enthusiastic users as a family. I appreciate so many of the things the library provides and want them to be there for everybody. I would hope that we don't have to insist on some crass return on investment from our library, but I acknowledge that you are wise to use that language and to include it, and I actually appreciate that very much. I prodded on replacement strategy because I genuinely worry about the perilous nature of funding. This is a big portion of the funding. You said a quarter. You know, it's from
20%.
20%. A fifth is from the levy. That passed, I think it's important to say for the record, by a very small margin, by fewer than 2,000 votes in a low turnout election. So it's precarious. And I would want us to do everything we can to make the case to the community, as I believe you have started to do in the service profile, that you're using resources efficiently and making a tremendous number of important services available to the community. I want to nudge on a couple of performance measures, but very much in the spirit of helping document what you do and how well you do it, so we can tell that story, in the community. So I'll get to a couple things here, and then, if you have comments, let me know, and other people, please feel free to pile on. And actually, I'm looking around insecurely for a timer. There's no timer.
There's no timer.
Oh, that's great. No,
I
no,
know.
I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
So caveat, right?
Sorry, yeah.
So I think if, maybe if there's like, if you have one question or,
Yeah.
two, and then we can see if someone else has a feedback, then we'll spin back to you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't worry, that was fake enthusiasm, everyone. So.
Does have a gavel.
That's right, that's exactly.
have a
She
gavel.
does have the gavel,
I will
actually.
use it.
She'll use it. I trust Jill to use the gavel. So, a couple things on performance measures. So, I mean, help me understand, beyond what's in the service profile, the visits per capita. So I understand the math. It seems to me that what that says really is that if the library is open more, then more people are going to go, right? And I mean, it just, other things being equal, because in the first year of funding that, that from the bond measure, we have that sort of bump back up. So that's helpful, but it was also going down before. So when I see those 4 years, I don't know what story it tells, and I'd like to be able to tell a story that's about, expanding access, I don't know, having hours that match people's schedules, whatever, but something that is about the performance of the library in reaching people. I mean that for all of the services, but especially a couple of the things you called out. And you said that one of the big barriers to reading is access to books. So that can mean access to the library for a lot of people. So I'd be curious to hear your reflections on that. Second, just quickly, is there anything else you can tell about access to the internet? Because I think we all understand that people with lower incomes, people with less sort of access in other settings in their life become more dependent on the library. But I can't really see in the service profile how, and I see anecdotally, like when I come here, I see people using the web who might not be able to elsewhere. But anything we can do to quantify that is key, and you acknowledged all the importance of that in an emerging tech economy and so on. But putting a fine point on it would be great. So I'll leave it at those two for now.
Okay. So in terms of the attendance, the people coming into the buildings, this is partly related to the open hours, but we did notice that when the branches had significantly reduced hours during a downturn in the economy, that they became more crowded, so that the quality of the experience was less, and that it's not, if you double the hours, you don't necessarily double the number of people there, but you greatly enhance the experience of what the people are able to get. So they're not quite so cheek by jowl. They're also able, with expanded hours, to greatly increase programming, because there's just not program slots if you're really reduced in time. It's a big convenience for the people being able to come in on their own schedule. So it becomes more of that. Particularly downtown, like that downtown anchor we were talking about. People will often choose the library as a destination and then assemble other errands and visits with that. So it actually has quite a significant impact economically downtown. The other thing that I think some of the strategies that I've talked about in the presentation about the digital outreach of the digital collections and availability through our website of downloadable and streaming things 24/7, and also taking the programs and services out to the community in these outreach programs. I think those are both ways that we're trying to expand that without having to expand the actual hours that the buildings are open. So it's very, very much addressing that. How do you provide the access if you're limited to 3 physical buildings with a certain reasonable hours? Then how do you expand exactly that access that you're talking about?
And do we have numbers on that? And like people using digital services?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then your other question was about the access to the internet. One of the things that I believe this measure is the butts and seats measure? Is that the internet access? It
Yes.
does not include the Wi-Fi access?
Correct.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that is the limit, there is a direct connection between the number of hours we're open and the number of hours that somebody can be sitting at a computer that we provide to get onto the internet. So what this is measuring our own equipment that we're providing to people, and if you're not open as many hours, that really drastically reduces that. So that's a huge part of the access of Open Doors. We do provide Wi-Fi 24/7, so we've actually just recently had a report of people parking outside the branch library in order to use the Wi-Fi at, off hours, as it were. So that's not captured in this number, but it is, I believe, one of the ones that we're adding to our new service profile numbers.
And the laptop lending.
Pardon?
Laptop lending.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's mentioned in the first-year levy report, but one of the programs that we added to just about double the access to technology, laptop, internet access at the branches, where it's very limited physical space, is adding a program of lending laptops that people can take home for a couple of days. And we found, particularly students, have really found that helpful. And also some of the seniors, I think, have been, they get to try something out before they decide if they want to further invest in that. So.
Thank you. Emily?
So I had two thoughts. My first, I wanted to piggyback on the library visits per capita. And in terms of expanding that, I'm interested in if it would make sense, since it sounds like a lot of this library work is being creatively taken out of the branches, to measure library encounters per capita, if there's any way to track how many folks you're reaching there. It seems like a significant and important number, and perhaps could be folded in. And since we're not really seeing what folks are doing at the library, perhaps there's a difference there and there's a reason it's not captured. But a thought on that. And my other thought, which sort of ties into this, is it's interesting to me that the label of customer satisfaction, when what I hear in your language, what's under customer satisfaction is something closer perhaps to access as well as effectiveness. And it seems stronger to me, instead of to say customer satisfaction when you're arguing for the effectiveness of the library. The effectiveness is to offer the services that then lead to satisfaction. But if you're counting as performance measures as a citizen being induced to vote, I would say, yes, I want to make the library effective, and that will lead to more satisfaction, but you can't do your job without having the money to provide the programming. So that might make it a little different. I don't know what it means to change the labels there, and it's a little bit wordsmithing, but 2 comments on that.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that we chose some of the performance measures we did is refers a little bit back to Jill's introduction about how not everything, we measure other things than beyond what's reported here. But one of the reasons that we chose, for example, library visits per capita, is it's one of the national measures that public libraries everywhere are looking at. And it's one of the ones that has led to Eugene Public Library being star rated, 5 times over the past some years, because of our high achievements in certain categories. And so one of the things that we wanted to pay attention to were, if these things are being measured on a national level and they're leading to awards for our services, let's make sure that we're paying attention to those around the service measures and performance that we're telling our local community about the same things that people are paying attention to nationally. But I like your thoughts on the customer satisfaction. I do think that there's a little bit of chicken and egg there, but that would be something for us to look at.
Yes, Emily, Lara.
So I'm looking at the targets from the blue sheet and then this new one, and I'm looking at the maintain and restore the number of diverse and current books in the library's collection. And that's the one, like all the rest of them seem like they were steady or went up, and like you can kind of see the funding, but that's the one that kind of went down. And I notice in the new phrasing, it doesn't include that specific number target. And I'm wondering how much of that is related to sort of funding and what you're getting, and how much of that is just a change in what materials you're choosing to get, like books versus electronic media and things like that.
Well, you picked up on one of the points that is exactly what we're doing with the change of strategy. The performance measures of number of books per capita is not actually something that's recorded anymore, because it's not necessarily the most effective measure of how well a library is serving its community, since it's such a relatively small proportion of the many formats. And so that's one of the ones that we're deliberately phasing out, is just because it's been taken out of the standards at the state and national level. We still count how many books we have in what formats. We know how many we have in each collection. We actually know how many people are using them. But capturing that one number didn't really reflect the totality of our services in a very effective way. So I think that we're actually responding to your question in advance.
And I guess as a follow-up to that, I noticed many of these other targets have like specific numbers associated with them, like 10 story times per week. But with the new target with the book, there isn't a number. Is there one in your head that you're just not kind of ready to put out, or is it more sort of a subjective standard of?
Right. I think the one in my head, and it's not put. It was part of the levy language and levy strategy, was to restore the materials collection to the pre-recession levels, and so it's more about a lot of individual decisions by an array of librarians to assemble that broad, diverse collection. And by giving them adequate funding to do that, I think it will end up resulting in this. So I'm almost measuring that one by the input of dollars at the front end, and assuming that it's going to produce this at the back end just because of the skills and talent of our staff.
Further questions?
Just a couple of quick ones. Thank you for those answers. I appreciate those questions. Let me keep going on performance measures for a second. I like what Emily said about encounters. I keep finding, just anecdotally from my own life, I keep finding things the library provides that I didn't know about. I only learned about the makerspace very recently. I know it isn't like decades old, but I'm just saying I learned it. It had been a while. I was behind the times. And it took us a while to figure out, you can get digital books, or you can get ebooks or audiobooks, or for that matter, remind me of the foreign language learning software that you guys have. Do you remember what it's called? I can't remember.
Mango Languages.
Mango Languages, yeah. So Mango Languages, so in case anyone wants to learn Farsi or Italian or whatever, or 20 other languages. So there's a lot there, and it would be great if we had ways of measuring and talking about that level of engagement. And I have no idea how much those things, different things cost. I'm sure they cost something. But it's not just the cost effectiveness, it's also so people know that it's there, so they use it, so we can make the argument. And so any thoughts you have on that, like those measures that capture those things would be great to hear. The second thing I would say, I love the phrase, I'll just say it's slightly euphemistic, a replacement strategy for the funding down the road. I realize we have to think about it that way, but I just want to say, as someone on the budget committee, I want to be able to make the best case possible, with things that you're doing. Not to cook the books, but to make a case with these numbers so people realize the extent of services and know the good work that you're doing. And I worry that isn't isn't always getting projected. And so like I would encourage you to figure out a way. I mean, you won't be back at the Budget Committee for another 4 years because that's how service profiles work. But I'd encourage you to think about the performance measures that could be out there in the community, and you could give to Friends of the Library and others, so we can make that case over time as things grow and improve. And the last, I guess, real question on that is, if you have any response to the argument that was made against the levy, which was, I mean, the only sort of coherent argument I heard, not convincing, but coherent argument, was that this belongs in the general fund. And maybe Twyla and Sue want to comment on this, I don't know. But this belongs in the general fund. We shouldn't have to have a separate. So people would say that as if somehow it was improper to have a levy for this. I mean, I think as we've seen, with the street bond last night and with the library bond, a majority of people voting in these elections have voted for these things. But it's an argument that's a difficult one to answer. And I'm curious, as you look ahead to a replacement strategy and as we figure out making a fiscal case for it, curious if you have any thoughts.
Yeah, I do think that it might be better to ask at the bigger level of the city, because I think it's not just funding for one service. It's the whole city has to function well. But I actually would, not sure. Do you want to speak to that one, Renee?
That's a big question. I'm Renee Gruby. I'm the Director of the Library Recreation Cultural Services Department for the audience. That is a great argument in times when the general fund can support all the services the community would love to have. As you know, during the recession, we stabilized our budget to the services that we could afford. And so while you didn't see us closing branches fully or library services fully, or actually cutting total services, we right-sized them for the economic and general fund dollars that we had. So it's really about choices that we make moving forward and the capacity that our general fund has to be able to support services without having alternative funding or new revenues, other revenue sources. So I think at the time that we go back, or we're getting close to this, that'll be a conversation we have as a community. What are the things that we're trying to fund, and what's the best mechanism to continue those fundings? It's not that anything is, we need a little bit of all of it. So if we're looking at a variety of services that make our community what it is around our quality of life, it's not one thing, it's a mix of a number of things.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any last question? Great, thank you very much.
Thank you
Thanks a lot.
so
Appreciate it.
much.
Appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Next on our agenda is Youth and Family Recreation Services. Welcome. Hi.
We're in the library, so I'm bringing some
Oh,
required
this is
reading.
good. Thank you. Thank you.
Aw.
Thank you.
So hello, I'm Craig Smith. I'm the Recreation Services Division Manager. And Recreation has 5 different service areas that create service profiles. And tonight you're going to hear from 3 of those service areas with their presentations. But before we get started on that, I'd just like to take a few moments to talk about recreation in whole or in general. First of all, I'm a little bit of a history nut, and so a couple years ago, a gentleman named Bruce Steinmetz, who used to run the Recreation Teen Corps program, wrote this little book on recreation history of the city of Eugene. It's a nice little read. But it's important to identify today that we're actually celebrating 90 years in which recreation has been funded by the public for the services it provides. It was actually in 1927 that Eugene voters first approved the Public Recreation and Playground Fund, and it funded youth programs in the parks during the summer. And I'd like to say 90 years later, we still call that program Fun for All. So a bit of history there. Secondly, in recreation, we really put a lot of effort into supporting the council goal of accessible and thriving culture in recreation. I know in the past several years that Eugene has been recognized nationally as a great place to retire. I also am aware that in the last few years, we've gotten a lot of favorable feedback on Eugene as an excellent place to raise your children. So we all know that this is a great place to live, and it's a great quality of life, and recreation is certainly proud to be part of contributing to that quality of life here. In recreation as well, we also do a lot of triple bottom line thinking in the decisions we make about the programs and our services. Essentially, we're aware we have a lot of buses, community centers, pools. We do have, we're very conscious, I guess, of our environmental impact and our carbon footprint, but I guess our greatest challenge in the triple bottom line is, if you would think on one hand, we really have some revenue goals to achieve. We have about a $3 billion a year revenue goal. And on the other hand, we need to make our services accessible to everybody. So with that, it can be probably our greatest challenge. I think it was our greatest challenge during the recession, and we're still working that as we slowly recover from that recession. And then finally, even though Parks is in Public Works and Recreation is in LRCS, for the past 3 years, Parks and Recreation staff have been working steadily on the Parks and Recreation Systems Plan. It's a comprehensive review of our entire network of services and resources that target our needs for the next 30 years, while also really trying to find what our immediate needs are and our immediate priorities in the next 10 years. So this process has engaged thousands of community members in giving us feedback on what they believe are the strengths in our system and also the gaps in our system. So for recreation specifically, the system plan looks closely at our aging infrastructure of community centers, pools, and sports fields. So tonight, in each of our individual presentations, you'll be hearing some of the strategies that have been brought forth for each of our service areas and based on the systems plan. So with that introduction, I'd like to introduce Sandy Schaefer with our first presentation. She is the Youth and Family Services Section Manager.
Good evening, everybody. How are you?
Hi.
It's a pleasure to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity to share the Youth and Family Services program with you tonight. As Craig mentioned, I'm the Section Manager for Youth and Family, and I'd also like to acknowledge and introduce the program staff that run the facilities and oversee the programs out of this area. Roger Bailey from the River House, Peter Chavan from Peterson Barn Community Center, and Zoe Raleigh-Keefe from Sheldon Community Center. Also, Gina Tafoya runs Amazon Center. She couldn't be here tonight. Collectively, they provide exemplary leadership and have numerous responsibilities, some of which include hiring, training, and supervising close to 300 staff. Our mission statement characterizes the impetus behind our decision-making processes and truly embodies the values we bring to our work every day. We are passionate about connecting with people, fostering partnerships and relationships, building community, and creating transformative experiences. I'd like to take a few minutes just to describe the scope of programming within the core services, and also note that it's important to understand that we provide a range of activities, including programs for all ages throughout the lifespan. Another important aspect involves working in partnership with schools, nonprofits, and numerous other community groups to leverage resources. The outdoor environmental programs are managed out of River House, and here we offer classes and camps focusing on environmental education, stewardship, and experiential learning. Preschool education takes place at Amazon, Peterson Barn, and Sheldon centers with over 100 preschoolers enrolled. Out of school time includes before and after school programs for school-aged youth. This includes childcare managed out of Sheldon Center, and we're also in partnership with 4J in our 17th year of a grant-supported program called BEST, located in 4 elementary and 2 middle schools. Free summer playground sites refer to the Fun for All program, providing supervised playground activities and special events throughout the week in 7 of our beautiful parks. Last summer, we served over 8,200 kids. Seasonal camps occur during school breaks, and summer is typically our busiest time with over 140 individual camps offered in multiple settings. Challenge course facilitation takes place at Spencer Butte Challenge Course, focusing on group development, team building skills, leadership, and conflict resolution. Teen leadership training is youth empowerment and is fundamental to our youth development model. We have some excellent partnerships with NAACP, 4J, Bethel, and we have leadership programs for ages 12 to 20, some of which are leadership and training, counselor and training, Youth to Make It Happen, and AXO. Service learning is literally embedded in all the things we do. The visual and performing arts classes are offered at 3 community centers and also in partnership with local theater groups. And then finally, Teen Court is a peer-managed alternative to the juvenile justice system. Courts are held weekly in peer hearings to recommend consequences qualifying juvenile offenders. The principal goal is to hold offenders accountable for their behavior. We're introducing this as a new strategy in our performance measures. We understand that when we invest in the development of our young staff, the payout also improves our local economic prosperity and our organizational capacity. Developing programs from the perspective of the needs of the individual can also be interpreted as integrating the passion and strengths of the staff into the program content. We also enhance the economic prosperity and growth of the community, as well as focus on the skills of our workforce to build capacity within the organization. I'll talk a little bit more about this in a few minutes, but first we want to hear from a young man who grew up in our program and grew into a terrific staff member.
I guess it all started in 3rd grade. I moved here when I was about 12 years old. I got a disorderly conduct charge. There was this program called Teen Court at Peterson Barn that my mom told me about. You just have to go through a peer court, and you have to admit guilt to what you did, and then you serve community service. And then it was kind of rough going through that experience, but overall it was good because afterwards I ended up really enjoying the program of Teen Court, and I started volunteering on my own as a case presenter, and that led to me getting more involved with recreation in the city. And I had a very dysfunctional childhood and went through a lot of adversity and stuff, a lot of trauma, a lot of things like that. And personally, in my own life, it was just a sense of belonging and feeling like I had a home outside of my home. They helped me, and now I'm helping them. I'm back working for the community, and I'm working for the city, and I'm giving back to kids every single day and dealing with, a lot of tough situations that I, never thought I would find myself dealing with. But it's actually been, like, I found later on in my adult life that was my calling, or my passion, was to help youth, especially the kids with the tougher home situations. I really relate to that. I couldn't be any happier with the work I'm doing, and it's like my dream, coming true.
That's just one story. We have many. Jarrett currently works out of Peterson Barn Community Center, and he just transferred from Sheldon Community Center. He's just one of those great stories of young people who find their place, and we're really proud to have them. So this next slide really presents the strategy with the performance targets. We're looking to increase the workforce development by providing experiences for young people to do what we just saw Jarrett doing. We think it's important to provide the leadership, training, the skills, the community engagement, and the volunteering experiences for them to become successful in their later lives. We plan to maintain or increase the number of young people ages 13 to 22 that are hired to work in entry-level temporary recreation positions. This is going to be our first year offering this, so we'll use FY18 as a baseline. And we also will continue maintaining high levels of customer satisfaction. We always are interested in understanding how our patrons experience us, and so we'll be looking to continue maintaining rates of 90% or higher. This past year, we experienced 96% satisfaction rate. Building on the theme of investing in youth, for the past 3 years, we've been involved in updating our vision for the future. The Parks and Rec System Plan provides a 30-year roadmap to prepare upcoming generations. The plan aims to address current problems by looking at the aging community centers and pools. Really, the average age is about 45. We know they're in disrepair, and we need to improve on that. Most were built in the 60s and 70s. We also have community centers that are too small to accommodate activities, and unequal distribution of pools and community centers throughout Eugene. We also want to prepare for population growth and trends. We have a projected increase of 34,000 new Eugenians coming over the next 20 years, and we know that people are living longer and looking to us to help them stay healthy, active, and fit. And we also want to create a vision for future generations. We want to take care of what we have by renovating and expanding the existing centers, pools, parks, and natural areas, and then build new parks and community centers and pools that are in underserved areas. As an example, this is a rendering that allows us to imagine Peterson Barn. Anybody been to Peterson Barn? You recognize it? This is a lovely imagining.
Yes,
We would love to have new expanded space for community activities, large classrooms, commercial kitchen, and the possibility of including a Bethel branch library. We also have similar renderings of the other facilities within the system plan, and it's fun to imagine the potential of what we could bring in the future years to come. So that's my presentation. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
So I'll put myself in the queue. And
Great.
thank you for your presentation. So I'm looking at the blue sheet, and it looks like there's a big drop in number of attendees.
Yes.
Okay, and it looks like the same graph under number of activities.
Yes.
Was there, so obviously I was here when
Yes.
all happened, but what were the activities? I mean, why are they exactly the same?
Why such
Was
a
it
variance?
something, yeah, well, they look almost, I mean, they're similar, right? So I'm wondering if there was like some significant programs that people participated in.
There were.
Yeah, and what were those?
There's quite a few variables that can impact the number of people who attend our programs.
Yes.
In this particular instance, we had two primary, I would say, events that were taking place. We had fewer activities that were planned that had a potential for higher rate of attendance.
Okay.
So that could be explained through, for example, we have a lot of U of O track and field events during certain times of the year or within various year spans. At that time, we had fewer track and field events that were going on. That roughly affected 6,300. We also had a Kinders program at Sheldon Community Center that was offered, and when the school district went to full-day kindergarten, we eliminated that program, and so that was also an impact of about 4,400 in attendance. And then we also had, I would just say, ultimately fewer events with that higher volume of attendees.
Okay.
And then one other thing also impacted, we had a change in methodology and how we were actually counting our attendance in 3 separate areas. We are a partner with the Boys and Girls Club. They occupy Westmoreland Community Center, and so we provide that space and we include their attendance. They changed their attendance from counting 1 person per day. Well, they were counting 3 or 4 kids a day, depending on the number of activities they were participating in, and they went to just counting head counts at the door. Similarly, we did the same at Peterson Barn with Fun for All program. Excuse me. And so those numbers are dramatically impacted when we change that methodology.
Interesting, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Yes, Liza.
So I heard you say a couple times the 300 staff, and I'm looking at this and it's talking about the like 27.18 FTE.
Correct.
The majority of the staff are youth who are both kind of staff and almost helping a target of the services, is that correct?
Correct.
Almost all of them are?
No. I would say there's a blending. So there's people like myself. I actually first worked for the city in rec when I was 19, so I'm kind of a poster child there. And I've worked for the city for about 31 years. So people like me grow up in the organization, and they get initially start as a volunteer, gain leadership experiences. So I would say that our blend of staffing is really all ages, but we do develop young people into these entry-level positions, and they do also grow into more responsible leadership roles. But I can't say that 27 FTE is all youth.
Oh, I wasn't saying the 27 FTE was all
Okay,
youth.
okay.
I was saying the majority of the part-time, temporary, because there's 300 to 27, there's a lot of part.
There is. Well, and I can also give you an example. Additionally, say at the River House, we have, in the summertime, we may hire an additional 60 staff to work in the summer, which is the peak season. And typically, those are individuals that are adults and also seniors. So our temporary workforce is quite expansive in the age group. Fun for All is a wonderful entry-level position for our younger staff, and oftentimes that's the place where we like to develop those staff.
Josh.
Thank you very much for the presentation, and my older daughter is a historical fiction buff and will appreciate this. I expect to be quizzed on its contents before long. A couple quick things. I really appreciate the piece on jobs. I mean, what Eliza was just referring to, and just, I mean, if you go to the pool and you see the employees, you have to think, what percentage of these? I want to say kids. I mean, I guess they're young adults, but I think of them as kids because they're kids mostly. I hope that's fair. What percentage is this their first job? And I have to admit, I feel a little sheepish. I had not sort of said it in that economic development context the way you nicely did, and I really appreciate that. And it gives us as budget committee members and people in the community something else to talk about. I would, and I apologize if I missed this, but I would love to see, and maybe this isn't a performance measure, maybe it doesn't go in the service profile, but a way equipping us to talk about these things in the community. Like, what percentage of total youth jobs in the summer in the entire city are provided by the city? Or what percentage of I'll say kids again, the summer employees, temporary summer employees are getting their first resume item from that? Because then you really are making a case.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It would be great to see those numbers. I'm not putting you on the hook for it now, but that'd be really helpful. And then back to Craig's intro, and there's just a tiny blurb on this in the service profile. I mean, it's impossible not, just using services in the community, impossible not to think about that trade-off between revenue and access, and also to think about the incredibly wide distribution of people's ability to pay for services, often services that an economist would say have zero marginal cost to provide. right? Sometimes there's a cost, but sometimes it's just access to places. I mean, the caricature is we let people use parks, right? But they cost something. And then you have services where maybe you charge a lot. But just say a little more about what the city's doing to wrestle with that issue.
Well, for us, any way possible in recreation, can we look for and find access to what we're doing. Bottom line, we know we have revenue goals to reach, and we need to do so with our business model and how we prepare our pricing. But outside of that, we do have a scholarship fund, number one. So any family that qualifies as low income can apply for a scholarship and earn up to 25, 50, 75, or with manager approval, 100% scholarship to anything. Anything we do. And then we have discounts in other ways. We have, say, in our, let's use adaptive recreation, we know that population is probably on more of a fixed income with the disabilities they're working with in their families. So we actually allow for less or target less cost recovery with that population of folks, a little bit with seniors as well. We like to run free community events whenever possible. So movies in the park, our Fun for All program, what might be family fun nights at community centers. There is a variety of free programs. So we do like to say that there isn't access somewhere to get people in the door. We do try to get sponsorship, and we have other people donate to our scholarship fund. We work with Willamette Lane, actually, in River Road and do the One Pass, which is a $50 pass during the summer for 3 months of bus riding and access to any swimming pool you can get. So any way we can partner with other agencies and other organizations to lower costs, that we're trying to do. So that's the balance. It's a creative manipulation of how to get people in the door if they can't afford it the regular price.
If I could add to that too, I think really the partnership piece is key. We have in youth and family up to 70 program partners, community partners, and there are a variety of relationships that we sort of share with those partners. But we know that we can absolutely serve more people when we work in collaboration with those nonprofits and those groups. We oftentimes, we have the ability to serve a need that they have, as well as they can bring in expertise that allows us to serve a larger population at very little cost in most cases. So that is a very effective tool to reach more people in lower income areas.
To follow up on that, because I was also wrestling with this, how you can sort of measure the struggle that you're having, but also the success that you have in balancing access and revenue, especially when you're talking about trends of population, demographics coming in, low income, language access. And then you have this balance of the paid and the unpaid services. And that does affect access. And you have this customer satisfaction of who is satisfied or very satisfied with the services that they get. But what if we look at the folks who are able to get services who wouldn't be able to get services without your support, which would also allow, I think, folks to see and be transparent about the diversity of people who are being reached. I think across the state, many different recreation and parks departments are struggling seeing that as they're cutting revenues, they're seeing the lower income folks drop out of a lot of these critical services while they focus on market rates, and there's a lot of debate about subsidies, what I've seen in some of the other smaller communities. So I'm wondering if there's any way that that it's possible to measure, number, and perhaps it's already there, but in performance measures, the percentage of folks who use the services and are receiving support to get it, the percentage of folks who are accessing second language programs, and what that takes to give a little bit of transparency. And because this is a service that is so critical to families, and it's so important, and I think there are a lot of folks who don't necessarily realize that the services that the city offers, there are substitutes in the private market. So to really emphasize why it's so important to have that and to provide that support. So that's kind of a long and rambling sentence at this point in the night, but is there anything that maybe isn't here that you're reporting or
Oh my gosh.
ways that that would encapsulate that in the performance measure side, which is
My biggest challenge in life this last month has been to reduce this.
I'm sure. I can only imagine.
I mean, really, I would love to have that opportunity, and I'd be happy to share with more with you.
Yeah.
I think what you just spoke to, I can give a little example. The BEST program that I mentioned, it's a grant-supported program in partnership with 4J. That is 21st century learning money that comes from the Department of Education. And so what 4J does is they are specifically targeting Title I schools, and it's intended to improve the achievement gap of students that either are underachieving or have fewer resources. So they specifically invite those students to take part in the program. We're the key program partner to help them run their extended learning day at the end of each school day. And it's completely free. Most of the kids in those schools would like to go to this program, but because it's by invitation, it's specifically. We have really great measures the 4J has gathered from how those students are actually achieving and improving scholastically. And then likewise, when we provide those recreation activities, the school district really recognizes that that enhances their ability as well. So I understand absolutely what you're saying, and I feel as though the partnerships, the contracts, and the way we do a diverse programming really does speak to a lot of what you brought up. So I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. And if there's any, I'm not sure if there's even a more granular way to call that out to make sure that it's visible, how that's monitored, that that it's really being looked at on that wide scale might be.
Right. I would add that in the past, and especially during the recession, we looked closely at that. We monitored it really closely. We have oftentimes 650,000, 700,000 attendees, over 6,000 activities. Yeah. And we really tried to define which ones of the 6,000 are specifically targeted at reduced cost or low income. And I think I don't have the data right here in front of me, but I think it was 45% of our services were targeted that way during that time, even though our revenues were increasing based on the times and what we needed to do to keep our doors open.
That's a powerful statement.
Right, and I think you might hear a little bit about what you're asking with the aquatics presentation as well, because I think they're taking a stab at it. So,
Thanks.
I'm put myself in the queue again, and I appreciate it sounds like you have lots of partnerships with nonprofits. I'm a big proponent of the public-private partnership, and I look at this, your dream rendering, right? And it strikes me, have corporate partners been identified to assist with the project? And my other part of this is, do people of means that participate in your programs, are they giving an ample and obvious opportunity to give more? And I always think of like Food for Lane County, right? You just walk through and like grab $1, $5 or 10, and whoever you are, you can help somebody. And have you explored that, or do you do that so people with means can help? And maybe their kid is going and it's free, but maybe they could offer $5 and support a sponsorship or a scholarship.
We're not actively hugely pursuing that as the system plan rolls out, although that is a possibility in anything we do as far as capital project. If there is a donor out there within their community that would attract itself to an old milk barn and what it serves in the Bethel area, then yes, we would be open to that. I think we're also, when we talk about partnerships, we're in this mix with the rest of the community that isn't municipal recreation, so like the YMCA, like kids sports, and we know both of those entities are pursuing just that. They need that, right? So there might be a squeeze on that type of support or endowment or give to us in that way. So we're in a balanced community for what's the capacity of that. So
right. I mean, it strikes me, I'm sure you've thought of all these things, but it strikes me like old milk barn, right? Old milk baron. dear deceased Uncle Gordon, right? Gordon Coleman. He was an owner of Dairy Gold, Dairy Gold years ago. And so someone like that, right, might be very interested in a project like this. So I think I'm just posing the thought that I know everyone's going after people, but a lot of corporations, if it's the right fit, it just could be a wonderful kind of way for them to give to the community in a way that benefits their own business. So
We would be open to that.
that's great. You will not say no. Yeah.
We do have individuals in the community who are passionate about certain things that we're doing that do contribute to a trust fund. We've had a anonymous donor for years contribute to HIV Alliance, who is our program partner with running a LGBTQ support group for youth, which is actually in its 25th year. It's phenomenal. So we do have also an individual who contributes toward a trust fund to provide free sailing instruction for kids during the summer. So we don't have corporations on the grandiose level, but we do have individuals that definitely feel passionate about contributing financially.
I just encourage you giving lots of opportunities so people, a lot of people I think would if they had the opportunity, but if they walk and there's no opportunity, then they won't because there isn't, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So,
great.
Yes.
And I know we're just about out of time. Yeah, one more quick one. The last cultural services service profile had some measures around operating cost per attendee and things like that. I don't know if there's a chance for any consistency across these things, but and none of this is meant to preempt the sort of deeper thinking that Emily was doing on like what audiences we're reaching with different populations and the sort of inherent means to access these things without help and so on. That's all probably more important, but it would be great to have sort of easy ways of describing the cost effectiveness of sort of reaching big numbers, because you guys reach big numbers. So I'll leave it at that, but just know that we look at many service profiles. The more of that sort of consistency in metrics we can achieve, the better sometimes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's great.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. All right, so if we could take a just less than 10-minute break so we can stay on schedule, and if we could reconvene here at 6:50, that'd be great. Thank you. And next up, Athletic Services.
Great. I won't have any preamble. I'll just quickly introduce Ethan Wing, who has recently, in the last 2 years, moved up here from San Diego to operate our athletic services program. So, Ethan, if you're ready.
I am ready. So, like he said, I am the Athletic Services Manager. My name is Ethan Wing. I'm happy to be here and representing the athletic service area and to represent my staff, which are my two program staff that are actually in the office with me, who are regular employees, as well as my 8 temporary employees that tend to work out in the field. The reason I bring them up is not only to give them a pat on the back because they deserve it, but also because I want to emphasize the size of my service area. You'll notice it's relatively small, and with the impact of our actual services, I feel like it's a true bang for your buck service area. So that is important to emphasize right out of the gates because you'll notice it as we go through the presentation. Let me get myself organized here. I'm assuming this arrow goes forward. I did it. So the athletics program, our mission statement is the athletics program creates and facilitates recreational and competitive sports opportunities, promotes active lifestyles, and encourages physical fitness and social interaction. Athletic Services philosophy is a well-balanced, healthy people contribute to a productive and thriving community. And I want to dive straight into our core services because they are shaped by our mission. And it is important that not only are they shaped by our mission, but they help our mission come to fruition. So, our adult leagues are what I consider our bread and butter services. They are where athletics started decades ago, and they still are a staple in the community today. Facilities coordination is a large part of what we do now. It's shifted over the last couple of decades, I'd say, especially in the last decade with partnerships with 4J and our co-owned synthetic turf fields. We provide thousands of hours of free access to local youth users. Contract management, which I'll dive more into when we get to that slide. And also, we serve as a centralized resource for community athletics information. And I didn't provide a slide on that, but I do want to comment briefly. Our office has sort of evolved organically, and we've turned, and I'm glad we've turned into a source of information for people interested in athletics in Eugene. That can mean anything from asking why lights are on at a certain time at a certain court to someone trying to develop a new league for themselves or in partnership with the city. Sometimes it's questions about parking at Ducks games, but we have all of the answers because of how closely tied into the local organizations and sports teams in this community. So it's a role I relish here in the community. So we provide a diverse adult sports league programming, and really what I was mentioning in our bread and butter programming is our basketball, soccer, softball, ultimate frisbee, and volleyball. Those leagues have been around a long time, and you can find people that have been playing in them for the last 30 years. It's hard to verbalize the actual impact of these programs, so I have one of my favorite anecdotal stories to kind of throw out there. And when I get lost in the weeds, I help program these leagues. I'm wrapped up in the brackets and the scheduling and the phone calls and the referees and the contract management with the referees. And you kind of forget the impact that you're having on the community on a nightly basis, even me, who's running the programs. So I have this story where I actually was working one night and I got a phone call that the sprinklers went on during a softball game at Ascot Park. And of course, I'm panicking. Oh no, I'm gonna have to reschedule these games. It's gonna take a lot of behind the scenes work. So I call one of our parks leads who, without our parks leads, none of this happens. We don't have the facilities. So we work very closely in tandem with our parks brethren. I call him, he shows up on site and comes out and he goes, oh yeah, I forgot why I'm fixated on fixing sprinkler heads, and I forgot why, what happens in the afternoon and why this all happens. And I went, sometimes I do too, and I run these programs. And he looks around and there's 2 soccer fields, there's 2 softball fields, and there's youth sports on one of the tracks at Ascot. Maybe a couple of hundred people, and that's just one site out of 4 that we're running that day. So I like to use that as one of the examples, and I think that adequately displays what we're doing on a nightly basis year-round. I also would like to follow that up with what these programs mean to our participants. So I have a brief video.
When I was younger, I played baseball when I was a kid, and it makes me feel like a kid, continually. So no matter how old I get, it's just nice to be out here with a bunch of guys.
It does make you feel younger, makes you feel like you can still do something. Of all the sports that I played, it's the only one I really feel like I can do pretty well in and hold my own in. So it's good to feel like you can, you know, contribute to the team. For a lot of us at this age, this is the only exercise we get. So yeah, definitely a benefit to our health, not just to play in the summer, but in the fall too, like now.
Yeah.
This is pretty much new, this seniors industry. It's only been around 7 to 10 years, and it was because of need. People who played sports when they were younger wanted to keep doing it, and as we've gotten older, we've been able to stay healthy and continue to stay competitive, and as a result, you're seeing this league blossom and have this kind of experience. Same thing with co-ed. Co-ed ball really as a nation actually started in this area. So this has really been a great area to be from, to have all these different experiences, and we've had our hand in some respects in seeing softball and baseball and other sports really excel. This Parks program here has been really outstanding, really makes it go well for everybody as we all connect.
Just being out here on a day like this, surrounded by this scenery, nothing better, actually.
Camaraderie is good. The fields are well kept up. The officiating is usually pretty well done, and it's just a great way to spend a day.
Never credit the officials, never. You'll never hear that. I can't even make them do that. So, yeah, so obviously you can't fake the experience that they're having. The people go out there, and I'm so happy to see them with smiles on their faces. I do want to mention, I did not mention Air 2 water polo as one of our bread and butter programs, and that's because it's not. It is a new program, and it's only got maybe 25 participants so far, but it's us trying to branch out and hit some more niche sports to help supplement our existing offerings. We do, in athletics, we are doing our best to begin to identify more service gaps in our area and try to expand our offerings, and that could mean anything. And lately, it's just been responsiveness to people that come to us with desires. Summer of 2016, my first summer on this job, we had a group of rugby players come to us. Within 3 weeks, we had put together a touch rugby league with 4 teams. All the registration done, all the signups, we located the fields, we found the staffing, and we made it happen in 4 weeks. We are also in the process of starting a high school ultimate program because Middle School Ultimate brought us maybe 60 kids and said, we don't have anywhere to send these kids right now, and we don't traditionally offer youth programs, but because there is a gap, we wanted to make sure that that need was met. So, I'm not going to go through these verbatim and recite them, but I will tell you that there are 82 different athletics amenities in this community that we coordinate, and that means anything from making sure that they are well maintained with the support of parks and the school districts, and also making sure that they are being used equitably by youth organizations and renters. And then, so our contracts kind of play into that. Making sure that people have equitable access to facilities is a huge focus of what we spend our time on. Like I had mentioned previously, we allocate thousands of hours to youth organizations for no cost. And we do so through different, we have, what is the word I'm looking for? A formula to divvy out the hours based on total participation of youth in their programs. So mentioning youth programs, kids sports, we actually partner with them and we provide scholarship funding twice per year for up to $20,000. And we also provide a field maintenance funding for them to help them run youth programs and ensure that the kids have an opportunity to participate in their programs. I also manage the contract for the Alton Baker Disc Golf Course vendor, which I'm extremely excited about because it's another opportunity for us and parks to leverage our resources. It activates our park and limits illegal camping in a specific area of Alton Baker while not having a huge, if almost a minuscule amount of impact on parks O&M budget. So we get to work in partnership in tandem, and we tend to do a good job here in Alton Baker with our shared resources. We also, a huge aspect of what we do is our intergovernmental agreements with 4J and Bethel. This means one of our main agreements is a joint use agreement that allows the community to have access to 4J gymnasiums as well as fields, and it makes sure that they are allocated to not just the high school teams but the community. The second part of this is there are 11 synthetic turf fields at local high schools and middle schools that are co-owned by the City of Eugene and the 4J and Bethel school districts. We in the athletics office coordinate all community use for those fields, and that doesn't just mean our own programs, that means the youth programs and rentals in the community. So over the last couple of years, as a component of the Parks and Recreation System Plan, which Craig mentioned earlier, and you'll hear more of in the aquatic slides, athletics partnered with Parks and Open Spaces and Travel Lane County and Willamette Lane Parks and Recreation District to jointly fund a two-phase sports complex feasibility study. And that study was conducted by CSL Consulting out of Minnesota. So initially phase one, which was in partnership with Travel Lane County and Willamette Lane, they identified a lack of sports facilities with enough fields to accommodate both daily play and local and regional tournaments. As a result, and this is true, they were not off base when they identified this. As a result, community and neighborhood parks are overscheduled with practices and games, and local teams travel as far as Medford, Portland, and Bend to play in games and tournaments. A couple of small, tidbits on that. We do have an inundated neighborhood park system that we're using their sports fields on a high basis, high use, and we have to do that because we don't have capacity elsewhere. So it's not just in our community parks, it's not just at our high schools, we're using all the fields we have in our system. Also, Craig and I had an opportunity last year to visit Medford Sports Complex, and lo and behold, we showed up on a weekday around, 2 in the afternoon, and there was a Eugene team on their soccer field. A bunch of Eugene teams on their soccer fields. So that just kind of puts that in perspective. A high-quality complex can be designed to generate sustainable revenue, satisfy unmet local needs, allow for the growth of local sports and recreation programs, and generate economic impact through the attraction of new non-local tournaments. And that last sentence is one of the main reasons Travel Lane County is partnering with us here. They want to generate outside dollars coming into Eugene. Phase 2, which was jointly funded by Travel Lane County and the City of Eugene in Recreation and Parks and Open Spaces, recommended 4 to 6 multi-use rectangular fields and 5 to 10 softball or baseball/baseball diamond fields. The identified land was Golden Gardens because of the acreage and the location. There was a pretty thorough site analysis done for that space. The Eugene and Parks and Open Spaces would have responsible for maintaining the overall grounds at the site, while Recreation would program the site. And there is the beautiful concept art. And lastly, and most importantly, that is the most important slide of all. You can't fake that. You can't fake that.
Never too old to try something new.
And never again. That is all we have. Do you guys have any questions?
Thank you, Ethan. Questions? Well, I have a comment. It's amazing what you do with your small staff, and obviously it sounds like many, many people depend on you, so that's quite an accomplishment.
Thank you.
Good job. Yeah. Any questions, comments?
I would just say it's impossible for me to conceive of Eugene without City League Ultimate.
It has roots here. Yeah. Big
Do you have a question?
I do. Question on the performance measure of number of athletics patron visits. So I'm interested in, because it sounds like there's a lot of work done in formal and informal work, so you're maintaining facilities, working on that. How do you what is a visit?
A visit is each time a person participates in a game in our system.
In like a league?
Yeah, in a league game. So I will tack on to that is not necessarily a measurement of all the services we're providing.
Right.
Which when I first got hired, I feel like we're missing a large segment
Yeah.
of who we serve, which is typically the youth aspect.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that over the next couple of years, especially as we move into a new registration software, I will be able to identify methods to measure that more accurately.
And if there's any kind of assessment, especially as you were talking about, how informal use of facilities activates these parks. And that's a huge, larger debate within the community, how to keep those public spaces. Being able to measure that as well in whatever capacity, if there is capacity to do that, I think would help bring this into the conversation of that larger community conversation in an important way, which would be cool because of all the work that's going into this. So, just thoughts.
Great. Question?
Yeah, and these are really more comments, but just bigger picture budget committee context. I have heard this before that we don't have enough fields. In the unfunded needs assessment, we have a whole range of different things that relate to Parks and Rec, and it's not always easy to see what things we can easily document need for. I mean, things are different. Like I think there are a couple of community centers in there, maybe a community center and a pool, and then
yes.
Yeah, and I don't even think there are sort of additional athletic fields in there, or are there?
There is not a sports complex.
Yeah.
In UNA.
But if it's something where we have demonstrated demand, especially if you can say people really driving to Medford? I mean, like, I know people are, that wasn't, I wasn't complaining about Medford, I want to be clear.
Medford's great. We're all
but yeah, we're all friends, we're all Oregonians. But I guess, I know people travel for sports leagues, but if there really is genuine spillover demand, that's a big deal. And I know there is super high capacity utilization of a bunch of these facilities. I mean, I'm in the friendly area neighbors boundary, and I've been to a bunch of fan board meetings, and they've dealt with a lot of stuff at Washington Park with just sort of going like late into the night on weekends and summers, right? I'm sure you know. Don't tell us the stories. There are probably too many. But I guess when we look at the unfunded needs assessment and try to understand that bigger picture, even just that basic notion of the demand for the facilities sort of stripped away. So you might want to think about how that could be represented there.
Yeah, I think the feasibility study that was just completed this last year is a big part of that, getting that information out and really justifying the reasons behind it and increasing knowledge on what our community really needs. So.
One other question, just looking at the 4-year strategies and seeing that the percentage of direct program expenses covered by revenues is decreasing, and just wondering if you could speak a little bit about the barriers to that.
Yes, yeah, I can. So over the years, both strategically and organically, the focus of the athletics program services has shifted. It was primarily an adult athletics league program for a number of years, and that was when the expectation of 100% cost recovery was developed. So that was, it's kind of phrased in a way that would make you think it's all encompassing for all of our services. Really, it was directed more at the adult athletic leagues. Right now, based on some costing exercises we've done, we are about at 105% cost recovery for our athletics adult leagues, and the rest of we have overhead that's going to these youth allocations, rentals, that we're not generating the revenue in response to that. So I think we're shifting that measure to more accurately represent that.
So that phrasing could change sort of.
It will change, yeah.
A critical strategy in all this will be strategy 2, if you read that, and it's really about capturing all the numbers of users that we've never captured before, and really capturing the demand and weight on what is essentially a shared system of facilities between the school districts and us, and then all the users that are growing. Youth sports organizations and leagues are growing. They continue to grow. And so strategy 2 is really trying to capture that moving forward and get a baseline and get that information to more, I guess, adequately explain the service.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Last but not least, we have aquatic service.
Stick around.
Yeah.
What is our slide?
Just press this button.
Okay, got it.
You're all set.
Alrighty.
Alrighty, our third presentation is aquatics. I'd like to introduce Rich Fay, the aquatics section manager, and Robbie Guthrie, a longtime aquatics manager with us.
Hello.
Good evening, everyone. Glad to be here and share a few things with you. We'll start with our aquatics mission. A few comments on that. Our mission is to be the accessible hub and provide our community with programs and facilities that can help people stay active and healthy and have fun throughout their entire lives. And moreover, we also focus on teaching children water safety skills. We believe every child should learn how to swim. And a key to our pool's environment, it must be safe, welcoming, and clean. And we work very hard with our staff and also with facilities management to ensure we meet that goal. So we're responsible for taking care of the 3 pool facilities we have, Echo Hollow Pool, Sheldon Pool, and Amazon Pool, and I'll give you a quick rundown on each one. Echo Hollow Pool, opened in 1969, is a unique indoor and outdoor pool with a large window wall that separates the 2 pools in the winter, and it opens in the summer to provide a really nice open air feel for the 3-sided facility when it's open. And additionally, Echo has a fitness center, a large hot tub spa, and a dividable multi-purpose room in the back. And one of its specialties, if you like to call it that, is Echo hosts 7 high school swim and water polo clubs for their practices and meets. And Sheldon Pool was built and opened in 1967, and it has a main 25-yard, 6-lane pool, deep water diving pool, and a fitness center. The deep water pool is particularly adapted for deep water fitness, and we hold a lot of classes there. In fact, Sheldon's long been known as the community leader in deep water and shallow water fitness classes. We're adjacent to Sheldon Community Center, and they use our facility for rec swims for their after school and their camp programs. And finally, Amazon Pool was built actually in 1957, but underwent a major renovation in 2001. And Amazon is truly the crown jewel of our system. It hosts the well-known summer recreation swims and offers many attractive features, including water slides in the zero-depth entry pool, spray play features, multiple diving boards, a 5-meter diving platform, and an inflatable obstacle course. An essential role Amazon provides in our community is that it hosts several swim teams in the summer and virtually the entire high school club water polo practices and matches in the fall, September and October. And with that, I'll turn it over to Rob. talk a little bit about core services.
Yeah, so our core services provides the community with opportunities in health, wellness, and education in and around water. Very briefly, we'll look at this. Learn to Swim just encompasses any of our swim lessons, which would cover all ages, youth and adult alike, as well as some specialty programs. Recreational swims are just that. What primarily those pictures are of is recreational swims. Fitness and wellness, we have a couple weight rooms, one at Sheldon Pool, one at Echo Hollow Pool. We also offer some water and land-based fitness. Competitive is all of the club and high school teams that practice at our facilities. And then, of course, in-service training certification is us working with our staff and making sure that they are held to their professional standards. And with that, I'm going to give you guys a quick video and have one of our longtime patrons tell you a little bit about how she experiences aquatics.
Learned to swim when I was about 29 years old. My children were just starting to learn to swim. Thought I needed to do this definitely for my children and myself. I really got to enjoy it for myself though, because I loved it. The more I learned in the water, the more I wanted to learn in the water. The natural scheme for me was, I wonder if I could actually take on the role of giving back for what swimming had done for me. Maybe I can give this back if I can teach it. It's kind of great when you run across a young child who's not your own and they'll say, "Oh, I remember you. You taught me how to swim." And I think to myself, I guess I did. I taught that kid how to swim. That's pretty fantastic. Swimming gave me a self-reliance that I could do something and accomplish it and even take it beyond what I thought I was limited to do. Not only has it worked in the sense of physically being wonderful, but I think mentally as well. I'm using my arms and I'm splashing the water and I have got a problem. I'm just beating the heck out of the water and before I know it, it's a euphoric thing. It works on your brain. That's not too bad. If it does that, it's pretty fantastic, I think. So, and if it did it for me, it does it for everybody. Here I am doing this still now in my late 70s, and it's amazing to me. It's amazing. It's a miracle. It's an absolute wonderful miracle. I am very lucky.
Yeah, so that's Vi, and if you're wondering, she is in fact as amazing as she appears. That is just a short snippet of a slightly longer video that we have. It's about a 5 or 6 minute video if you're interested. It gives a little more background on who she is. And she's still coming to our pools today, and she's just a perfect spokesperson for what it is we do and how we engage the community. We believe that being involved in aquatics is a lifestyle, and it's something that we have to offer for all ages and all ability levels. And we see this time and time again where people go through this. We see them kind of on this cycle here where it doesn't matter where they're at, but there's something for them, and we see people come through this and then bring their kids up in the program, and they kind of cycle in and out of being participants as well as being providers of this service and finding ways to engage the community, and sometimes doing both at the same time. And so we take great pride in being able to get everybody in there and make sure there's something for everybody. Also, one thing that we put a lot of effort into was working with youth and young people. So I heard you guys talking earlier about the size of the temporary staff and the age of them. For us in aquatics, we run during the summer, we can get up to about 150 or more temporary staff between our 3 pools. And those staff are in the age of 15 to 22. So when you asked earlier, are these people finding their first job with us? The answer is absolutely. We are not only providing them with the training, the certifications to be able to have their first job, but we are training them on what it is to be an employee and what it is to have a professional responsibility. And once we get them in the door and we start working with them, it's another wonderful opportunity to help shape these young professionals and help develop them. We put a lot of effort into additional professional training opportunities, and it's just a lot of fun to see what happens and see what comes of them and see where they go. And almost without fail, all of them just come in and out, and we just see them coming back, and we see them bring their families back, and they continue to engage in our programs. Yeah, so we were really excited to engage the youth in that area. So with that.
Based on community feedback, Craig had mentioned earlier the Parks and Rec System Plan. Based on community feedback, the following guiding principles, these two that I'm going to mention are specific to our pools. One of them was care for and make the most of what we have. So Echo Hollow and Sheldon Pool facilities are outdated and too small for current and future recreational needs. And also Echo and Sheldon need renovations and lack the amenities to meet current trends such as water slide, current channels, warm water therapy pools, and the like that we mentioned earlier. Amazon Pool is a perfect example of how renovations, in addition to these features, really boosts attendance and revenue. And the second principle is to serve the entire community. Both pools and community centers are not equally distributed throughout the community. Both the southwest Churchill area and the northwest Santa Clara area of Eugene are underserved with these types of facilities. So we're looking at that in the Park and Rec Systems Plan. So we developed the renderings for Echo Hollow Pool with the proposed addition of recreational play amenities such as the water slide, current channels, zero depth entries, spray play features. Echo Hollow would certainly be a center for enhanced recreation swims for many West Side families. Also, a repaired functional bulkhead, which divides the two pools we have now into an indoor and an outdoor pool. If it was operational, the pool could once again become utilized as a 50-meter pool for long course programs such as lap swim and competitive swimming. And that would give us a little more flexibility for serving some of those patrons that enjoy those programs. And Sheldon Pool, with the possible addition again of a warm water therapy pool and spa, which the patrons have been asking for a long time, would be positioned to enhance and expand its water fitness offerings, healthy programs, and particularly for those people in need and for seniors. So these are, again, some exciting possibilities. We would propose a combined entrance with Sheldon Community Center to enhance our ability to deliver those services together and gain some efficiencies there. And I wanted to point out some of our strategies just briefly here. Strategy 1, maintain accessibility through discounts and scholarships, community partnerships, and insurance subsidized programs. Maintain or increase the number, the target is to maintain and increase the number of free or reduced cost program participants. We're doing this in a number of ways. For youth, we have been working with the One Pass program with several partners, Willamette Lane and several others. Also, we worked last year with Trillium and Lane County in a Project Plunge discounted program for youth, being able to provide them essentially a very low-cost $5 pass for the entire summer. And for all of our users and patrons, we participate and spend a significant amount in scholarship dollars to support people. And for seniors, we've just this fall introduced the senior discount And we're also now participating Silver and Fit member, which again provides more accessibility for these people. And we kind of expanded strategy number 2, reduce aquatic tragedies in the community by providing water safety awareness and education. Before, we were just measuring the presentations we made to all the third grade classes in 4J and Bethel. But we realized that every program we provide for youth at the pool has a water safety component. So we should be counting those kids that are taking our swim lessons, that are involved in summer swim and water polo leagues, that are in our junior aquatic staff, that are in our junior instructor staff. So all those kids are really getting a water safety component in their program. So we need to count those kids as well, because that's an important goal for us. And to create strategy 3, create entry-level job opportunities and professional development, as Rob talked about a moment ago. We can measure this because we run multiple American Red Cross certification programs and certified lifeguards, of which we hire most of, and then the training goes on. They're required to have monthly in-service trainings, and we actually have more frequent trainings in the summer with the same kids. Not only that, but we have a really excellent swim program where we develop swim instructors. And it's a special skill, and often these kids go on to become teachers, and they enjoy that kind of professional development. And moreover, most of our lifeguards, I would say, especially at Echo and Sheldon, are trained to rotate to the front desk. So they learn customer service skills and the ability to register people and serve people in that way. So that is a very transferable business skill. So with that, we went through it kind of fast. Let's see if you had any questions and see if we can answer those.
Thank you very much. Questions? Liza.
So I know you had talked a little bit about certain areas of the city being underserved, and in the last presentation we heard about a lack of capacity overall, where the facilities were just being used to the point of bursting. Are you seeing the same thing at the pools that we do have, where they're just full all the time?
Yes, we have many users in our pools and lots of diverse types of use. So we have the competitive community, we have the lap swimming community, we have the water fitness folks that want to come in, and we also serve a lot of high school classes. And so oftentimes and we provide swim lessons, so oftentimes finding enough time for all of those different users becomes challenging. Moreover, we did a survey or some research a few years ago, and we discovered that people really are registering within 3 or 4 miles of where they live. So they'll kind of be regionally oriented toward the pool of their choice. And so by providing that opportunity to reach out to people in an underserved community, it makes it more convenient for them to get there, and it would expand our capacity.
On that strategy, the target of maintaining or increasing number of participants attending free or reduced cost programs, do you have a ratio of how many of your users would fit that description?
We could determine that this is a new strategy. We kind of know how many scholarships we've issued in the past, but this is a little more expanded count. So with our attendance counting procedures, we could count the number of kids that were in one pass, count the number of seniors that used the senior discount, and Silver and Fit. So we'd be able to calculate that against the total number of users that we have. So
that could be a really useful metric to add to that.
Right, make it the percentage of total use.
Yeah, the ratio, which would make it clear to show both what's happening now and then the efforts you could then match and track your efforts to maintain it.
Yeah, I like that.
Other questions? Josh?
I was sort of waiting for last. Do you have anything?
I don't.
Any questions? Okay, so I was waiting for last just because I really just have comments. I'm hugely grateful for what you guys do, and I know a lot of members of the community are. I remember when I first came on the Budget Committee, when the unfunded needs assessment was called the multi-year financial plan, I remember seeing the line items for community centers and new pools and thinking, well, that's not so much. Oh, wait, that's thousands of dollars. And so actually, there are huge investments that would be necessary to expand access. And it does feel, I mean, sort of piggybacking on what Eliza said, it does feel like very unequal access around the community. And so I do hope we can find a way to make some of those big investments. I'm sure they'll take a vote of the people because they're big investments. That's not scary to say that out loud, but we're so close to Election Day. Why not? The other big comment I wanted to make is I really appreciate through the thread of all the presentations tonight the discussion of economic development and the provision of jobs, and especially jobs for youth. You guys have also done a really good job talking about, sort of in aggregate, all the service profiles, talking about access questions and the challenges. I mean, we talked about the sort of access and revenue challenges. We've touched qualitatively on public health, and I wouldn't expect us to have quantitative metrics coming before the Budget Committee from relatively small parts of the city. You have 4 FTE, what are we going to do? Ask you to come up with public health metrics in your spare time. Obviously, we're not going to do that, but I mean, talking to Kate Reed, whom I serve with on LTD's Strategic Planning Committee, she's on the LTD board as well. I mean, I think Willamette Lane has been thinking a lot about the fact that recreation is one of these fundamental pieces of public health. In fact, she was saying she'd been to a conference and heard that recreation, healthy diet, and healthy transportation all together were this sort of important 3-part way of thinking about it. And the city doesn't do food, but we do a lot of transportation and we do a lot of recreation. And so although when we use the phrase public health, we usually think of the county and its services and the state and the federal government, of course. Actually, we're on the hook for a lot of infrastructure, and we don't necessarily talk about it that way, saying, wait, we are responsible for, or can provide tremendous opportunities that really are not just individual opportunities, but in aggregate are public health strategies. So the more we can kind of talk to people about it that way, I think people get it at an individual level, but they don't necessarily think about it that way. And certainly when I talk about transportation, and goodness knows, you guys only have to be here tonight, but I talk about transportation here a lot. It's pretty annoying. But I think transportation and recreation and city investments on those things, we should look through a public health lens at those things more often. And you guys have helped us do that tonight, so thank you.
Thank you.
Additional questions? Thank you very much. Great presentation.
Certainly.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. So that concludes our 4th service profile, and on behalf of the Budget Committee, I'd like to thank everyone that participated and the city staff for another round of very high-quality presentations, and I like the videos.
And videos.
Yeah. Nice touch.
You've
Yeah,
set a
it's
high
great.
bar.
Yeah, no, it's great. And it's very informative. It's actually one of my favorite parts of being on the citizen member of the Budget Committee, just to learn about all the hard work that everybody does for the benefit of all people that live in Eugene. So thank you. With that, is there general comments? Anybody have any questions or thoughts or about the process? And if I can, we, Twyla, can help you.
I will just say I lament the absence of so many Budget Committee members. I'm sure they all have good excuses. They missed out.
Yes.
That's all I'll say.
Yes.
Well, let us know about the approval next week.
Oh, yes. And so, yes.
Live in suspense.
Be in suspense, delayed gratification, yes. Watch it on the webcam, right? So with that, if there's no questions, we will adjourn. Thank you all very much.
Thanks a lot.